Yeah, let's go.
No.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Yeah. Good,
Hey, guys.
good. Yeah, oh, you're fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's like everything was frozen and then pow, it like exploded. So this one lake just opens up really quickly. So it tends to get a lot more ducks than anywhere else. Like they dump in there and then they'll kind of spread out as the spring starts out. But yeah, it's magic in there. So
Nice.
well, it's fed by a warmer creek. Yeah, the creek that runs through it is usually open through the winter, and so it's a little bit warmer. Yeah, and then it's not as deep, so it'll usually open up. And there was a bunch of otters in there for like 2 or 3 weeks. There was a lot of otter activity, and then yep, that was fun. So
That's cool.
that was so cool.
I'll go first. Why not?
Bad.
Before I share anything, so just to kind of recap a little bit of what I've been up to, probably the tail end of March since the last show. And I think like the first 2 weeks in April were basically a bust here for me. I couldn't get out. Then when I could get out, the weather was just horrible here. We were just...
Can I just interrupt real quick? People are saying they can't hear. I don't know if it's everyone or if they just can't hear Ray. Ray, because we can hear you, Ray, but I don't know if the audience can't hear you.
I can hear everybody.
Can you guys hear everybody else?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay. Sorry
Got
to
it.
interrupt, Brad.
Now
Didn't
you
mean
guys
to
can hear
interrupt
me.
the
Oh,
flow.
all right. There we go. That should be better. Yes. Now
We're
we
good
have
to
my
go?
audio going out. All right. So let me run by that again. Let's repeat that. I forgot to turn on that one setting. All right. So welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. The show's going to run. We're going to start with Brad. Each one of us is going to go through, share what we've been up to recently, and then we will be sharing our favorite photo that we picked out from you guys that you hashtagged it. So thanks so much for doing that. Keep doing that. Share the Wild Combos hashtag on Instagram. That's where we're going to pick our favorite photo each show, and just keep doing that going forward. After we pick that photo, we are going to share a question. User submitted questions, and so we'll go through that as well. We have some questions from the last show left over, so that's what we're going to answer from this time, and we're probably still not going to be able to get to them, but if you have a question that you want to submit and you're not doing it live, you can't make the live show, just head on over to wildconversationshow.com and you can submit a question there anytime, and we'll try and get to it at some point on one of the upcoming shows. So that's it for the formalities, and now you can hear me. Thanks so much for everybody for letting me know on that, and I'll hand it back off to Brad.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray. Yeah, so basically what I was saying before was that so since the last show, tail end of March, first couple of weeks of April, weather's just been horrible here. Heavy rain, lots of wind, just nasty stuff. And I mean, I personally don't even mind a bit of rain if there was tree birds, songbirds, for me to shoot, because it'd be nice to get them in the rain. But yeah, we don't have a lot of tree birds around right at the moment. So I guess probably into mid-April, I finally got out and decided to revisit a concept that I've been playing with. So if you guys have been following me, the kind of like blue hour artificial light. So I was able to pull off. So I've been really wanting a good pintail one. So there was a pair at this location, and they luckily drifted by. So it always blows me away too with doing these, that like the image stabilization, it's crazy. I mean, this is shot at 1/50th of a second at f4 handheld, right? So it's unreal what these cameras
I've done it on the ground
can
pod
achieve.
down to like 30th of a second, but not. I don't know that I've done it hand. But well, let me ask you: you're not elevated at all, so you're resting on the ground, like your handheld, but it's still like your hand and the camera's kind of based on the ground at this point, right?
Yeah. So this shot, I'm kind of just on a little bit of a slope, so I'm like
gotcha.
this, right?
Okay.
But
So you're
now
stable
going
on the
back,
ground,
but going back to the
the
cormorant
cormorants,
shots,
that's right.
those are basically like I'm basically stood up, and that
Dude, you're
I think
nuts.
one of them 1/25th of a second or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, cormorants don't move; they're just like super still, right? They're very slow, so you can you just ream the shots, you get that are sharp, right? I mean,
I think that's key doing that, right? Anytime your shutter speed gets really low,
it
is like
is.
fire off a really nice good burst, because I feel like
Definitely.
that first time you press down, it always kind of like jerks the camera a little bit, and then maybe when you're ready to stop, same thing. So it's usually one of those in between. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, you can see like in say a burst of like 10 frames or something, it's like focus, out of focus, focus, out of focus. Like it just shifts just that little bit, right?
Yeah.
So as long as you get one, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah. That's gorgeous, man.
Yeah, so that basically it was a cloudy day or whatever. So then finally we started to get some decent weather. And here again, when there's no wind, I basically do waterfowl because we tend to have a lot of wind here. So I decided to head to a location. Now for here, like we get during the winter, tufted ducks, greater scops, and they eventually start to move off, head back to their breeding grounds and such. So I want to kind of take advantage before they fully take off. So headed out. This location is one I really targeted last year as one I've got to get in the water with waders. So I'll just start off. So at first, and it's funny, I always find like with waterfowl, I don't know if you guys find this, but it seems like the females are a little bit more curious. Like they always seem to, for me anyways, seem to be the ones that'll come in, and the males kind of like stay off. Females will come in a bit, then the males will kind of chase them in. And that's just my experience. I don't know. Maybe it's just here, but I've always been my case.
I've noticed that.
I think it depends on the species for me.
Yeah.
Think so? Yeah. Could be. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot of experience with waterfowl, so
no.
I don't.
Yeah.
What's that like on the body there?
So that's basically they were coming into this little bit of like I'll say like a little cove kind of area, or not a cove, like it's a decent sized pond, but there's these like little pockets, I don't know what you'd call them. I'll say a cove, but it's not a cove.
Cove works. Yeah.
Yeah. So these areas would stay more calm, more flat, because the center of the pond was a bit more ripply or whatnot. So they were coming in and feeding in through the reeds and these tall grasses. So when they were diving, I guess they were coming back up. Some would come back up with it hanging out of their mouths, and I guess where they're grabbing all their different little food and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So these two females glided by. The light was just kind of kicking off in certain areas. And then here, I almost wish he had turned just slightly bit more. But anyways, I'll take
the peek off of his own shoulder, though. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looks like he's like flirting a a
little shy, right? Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Or just telling me to piss off, one of the
other. Yeah. It's it makes it different, like we've all seen the other standard profile.
Yeah. So I love it here. Again, this is like the stall I love. Basically the tall dry grasses in the back are just getting lit up. He's in shade, right? So you just brighten him up in the post after. And then as I'm stationary, not moving a muscle or whatever, these guys start drifting in. Loving this one. Tufted duck, just kind of in a shaded area, but you're just getting a little kiss of light.
Yeah.
It was just strange how it was even happening because it's like nowhere else, but it was just kind of hitting his face. So
I love
really
the
like that one.
iridescent showing on that one.
Oh, it's crazy when it
Hint of
does.
green.
Yeah.
Is
And it's
it
amazing
always
how
green
like
on this species, or does it depend on the angle? Does it change? Does like
depends
some
on
of
the
them I
angle.
know
You get a
shift.
purple.
You do, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ah.
Isn't that wild?
You get a purplish hue. You can almost see it a little bit in the top parts here, but yeah,
Yeah.
it does shift a
I
bit.
know Pacific loons do that too, right, Jamin? You get
Mhm.
green or
Yeah,
purple?
a lot of them do. Like
Yeah.
greater and lesser scalp do too.
Yep.
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 They
Yeah.
get that kind of sheen.
Yeah.
And mallards can look totally purple in the right
You're
light.
right. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
true.
based on that angle. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess is it? Or I wonder if that's like a hummingbird situation where there's actually no color. It's just the reflective value of the feathers. Like the feathers only reflect certain wavelengths at certain angles. So maybe that's why the
Could
color
be.
shifts.
Yeah.
I think that's probably. I
Could
don't know.
be.
I'm gonna try and sound like I know what I'm talking about there. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody
Sounds
can
Sounded
good.
good. I'm just like,
Go with that.
And it's funny because I always love when I hear people that are like either just getting into birding or someone who's walking by, they're like, what's that black and white duck over there? And I'm like, oh, you have no idea the
Yeah.
colors this thing
Yep.
has. It's crazy, right? Because you really don't until you really get, in tight with them. So that's the top of it. And here was
Oh
another
my
one. The light was
gosh.
really popping off at this point and
So
hitting
is
different
this one
areas.
backlit or no? It's not. No.
I can't tell you the secret behind that one, right?
Yeah.
oh,
Well, because there's almost lens flare on the left.
Good.
So it almost feels like sun coming in at the lens, but obviously
He's
it's
trying to
front
figure
lit.
it
Like I
out.
can see the light coming in on that. So yeah, that's fine.
You'll
that's
never
fine.
know.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
I mean,
gorgeous,
it's just
man.
so crisp too. Like the details are insane.
Yeah,
Those
well, like I
water
said, it
drops.
was such a calm morning, right? So
Did he
it
just
worked
dive
out.
or was
It
splashing
worked
around
out
or something?
perfect. Yeah, just basically dove. And it's funny because he was the only tufted there, so he would come in, he'd dive, and then he'd come up and like kind of like, okay, I'm just getting out of here. Oh no, okay, I'll come back again. I'll dive, and then, he was nervous, right? So
Nice.
and
That's
they
funny,
know,
man.
they always know you're there. I
Right?
don't know what it is. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So then the greater
Wow.
scop, he was there as well. So he came in again, light just popping off on him.
I dig
Yeah.
the dark background on that one too.
Yeah, that's just worked out perfect.
Yeah, and there's just enough light around the top to give the head, like the head doesn't blend into that background. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's sweet.
And it was really nice that
The light
area,
you get is insane.
depending where they would go, you were getting such that mixed background too, right? Like you could get these kind of like darker exposure, then you're getting some that had a bit more detail in the background. It's too bad that day, like I said, the pond itself in the more open areas were kind of rippled because there were like more distant shots I want to get, almost like the one in the beginning, this one,
Yeah.
because I'm loving that more to include more of the habitat, but you just really couldn't pull it off that morning.
Yeah, rippled water is just
It just
turns a
kills me.
mess. I mean, unless
Yeah.
it's kind of cool with backlight because then you get bokeh out of it. But
Yeah.
but if it's front lit, yeah, it's a mess. It's a hot mess.
Yeah, you almost want more waves than just a little
right.
ripply water.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
yeah. And then towards the tail end, this
Nice.
female American widget came in. She was super weary. She only just stayed for a short period, but I was able to. I kind of like that S shape to the head.
I love the detail on them. It's just so intricate. That black and brown barring is
Mhm.
just incredible on them. It
Between
really is.
them and the female pintail, I really like.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep,
they've
same with
got
them.
such beautiful details, and it's funny we
Gadwall, too.
overlooked them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Gadwall,
right.
really intricate. They're more of a plain, as far as colors go.
From
They're
distance, right?
more browns. But
Yep.
yeah, you get them in the right light, and they've got almost a widgeon kind of
Yep.
streak through
Yep.
here.
Yeah.
And they have the same head shape as a widgeon too.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't get Gadwell. Well, it's funny. We have one Gadwell here. He's been here for 3 years, and he's dead set on the female mallards. So he's trying.
best.
He's really trying. But yeah, we
He doesn't give
don't.
up.
We'll get occasionally a female that might come through, but very
Wow.
rare.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get a hybrid.
Yeah, well, this is what everyone like, you know, in the birding community, we're all trying to keep tabs on him, just see where he's going, right? But we haven't
We're
seen
wishing him
anything
luck.
yet. Yeah, exactly, right. So I think that might be it for my shares. Yeah. Like I've
Nice.
had other outings recently, but you know, right now, like I said, we don't have many songbirds. We're just slowly now getting a few fox sparrows and such. Within the next week, we should get a push of some birds. So
Yeah, you
I'm
shared that killer
excited.
junco with us earlier today.
Yeah.
No, I'm
I
serious.
know.
Yeah, I love that
No,
one, man.
I
The
like the
composition on
shot.
that is
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
You got
It's
to
my
play with the
wife's
common
favorite bird.
species.
So.
What's that, Jamin?
Pardon?
Oh, it's my wife's favorite bird. She loves the juncos.
There's something
Yeah,
about
we love
them.
them too. Yeah, they're super
Great
cute.
bird. I heard the first one out my house like earlier this week singing, so it was nice. It was welcome.
It's
Yeah,
so funny
they're,
how when you're in your own area, I just forget how different it is everywhere else. You know, like juncos are here all winter and then they leave, and so for you, like they're going to you guys. You know,
Yeah.
and so it's just so neat to have somebody to just kind of remind you, like, oh yeah, this is where they're going and what they're doing, and you know, that's such a neat concept, connection you get when you're talking to other people in different areas.
Like I said, we have them all year round. That's why I don't really spend a whole lot of time with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, like I told you guys on the chat today, they kind of have a soft place for the juncos now. So
yeah,
I had to nab that shot.
definitely. Nice, man.
can't blame you.
Cool.
All right.
What do you want to hit next? The question or you got the photo ready?
I got the photo ready. I'll jump into that.
All right, cool. Oh yeah.
So again,
awesome.
guys, thanks everyone for sharing images into this hashtag. Amazing stuff. Like
Yeah.
very, very tricky to actually narrow it down to a choice, but I had to go with Nicholas Tetler. His work. I'm a sucker for waterfowl, and he produced some amazing stuff. But this is art. To me, this is art. The shape, the lighting, the dark mood. You could just stare at this one. I can see this like in a museum or in an art. It's amazing, and I can't imagine how you pull it off because I've never done any underwater kind of shooting. So I can imagine what goes into this.
I love the reflection of the curve above, and then it gets a little warped and then just kind of fades out. And then, what do you guys think is causing, especially right by where the neck attaches to the head? It looks way thinner than a normal mute swan. Do you notice that? Like the neck looks
maybe
so
just
thin
like
there. The lighting.
Yeah, the light or the darkness
like the shadow,
of the water. Right? Yeah, shadow.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Because it just doesn't seem like their necks are pretty consistent the whole way out to the head. But then in this photo, like right when you get to the neck, it just like really thins out, which makes it just look even more interesting to me. You know,
it does. Like it makes the head stand out too.
Yeah.
I wonder
if zoom in on it or no.
Pardon?
You like zoom the screen or no?
No, I don't. No.
There you go. Yes. Or yes. Somebody was asking, can you make the image larger? So
yeah.
Gotcha. What were you asking, Jamin?
Oh, I was just going to comment about, when it's underwater, the feathers probably compress a lot more.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think of that.
The body.
And the head's further down than the higher part of the neck. So
it's going to look really funny because
You're right.
Those feathers aren't fluffy.
That's right. Good point. I'll bet that's probably it. Nice.
Yeah, I think it's just so nice to see like such a different perspective than what we're used to when it comes to these birds. And it's just like, it's very compelling.
It is, yeah. And one thing, I'm going to make a comment. I hope that I'm right in this theory or this. I'm assuming this is because it's shot wide. It has to be shot wide, I would assume. That this is more of like a tamer waterfowl, like the swan could be at a park or something like that. And I really love when someone takes could be in the middle of the city, tons of people around, but creates such a unique image because not all of us have the flexibility to, be out in the wall all the time, spending hours, or live in some like super remote location. And to show that you can pull off an image like this as someone's walking by with their dog, or you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it's mind blowing. I love that. I just love that concept that you can, you don't have to be in some magical place to create something magical, right?
Yeah, totally agree. I think I've seen behind the scenes photos of where he shoots, and or just have heard read comments or something. And I think you're exactly right. I think it is a very somewhat of an urban setting where they're very friendly swans. You know, probably the locals feeding them stuff they shouldn't be feeding them, kind of thing. But
yeah, but I mean, like I said, it just goes to prove, like, because I think maybe some beginners too might shy away from taking advantage of some of these locations.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because they think that everyone that shoots is, you know, 2 hours away, 50 kilometers in the middle of the woods. You know what I mean? Totally isolated, and it's not always the case.
I have no idea what you mean by 50 kilometers. Yes,
I know.
Yeah,
I know, right?
how far did you drive today, Ray?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, great choice, man. Great choice.
So,
all right, and then we got
let's
the
see.
question.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Dive into questions. All Jordans. So I think Jamin, this is
Yeah, it's a
friend?
bunch of mine. Yep.
So what do you think is the most important non-camera related piece of equipment to have in the field?
Ooh.
It's a really good question. Just gonna haul up his work as well. He's got some amazing work too.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess I'll go first. I think for me, because I do enjoy a lot of waterfowl photography, probably the biggest thing that I've purchased over the years are chest waders. Just because it's allowed me to get into locations, get perspective, and be able to work an area that I wouldn't be able to get the shots that I do from land. Especially like, for instance, that location that I shot, the images I just showed you guys. I've gone to that location before and it's garbage. The bank is too high. The area that you can get low, it just doesn't work. The background is no good. So being able to get in with chest waders just makes such a difference. And I enjoy using them even for shorebirds, for a lot of things. Our weather here is quite different than, say, Florida, where I can just, you know, you can jump in the water. I mean, sometimes it's July and it's like 5 degrees here, 5 degrees Celsius. So you're not jumping in much water here without something warm on. So yeah, for me, it's chest waders.
Just go ahead and display that for everyone else to see the temperature conversion there. Yeah, and then also it's really cool when you figure out how to seal up the top over the waders, right?
And you know what's funny? I meant to mention that when I was showing the images. Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll just throw that out very, very quickly.
Yes.
So basically, Jamin and I actually had the same concept, same idea. We're throwing this idea around that. See, with chest waders, especially the way I work, is you're in, you know, over your waist in the water for sure. So as you shoot, you bend forward. Well, when you do, sometimes if you bend too far forward, water goes in. So Jamin and I actually were thinking alike one day, and we're trying to figure out, well, can you put, like, say, a waterproof jacket over or something, cinch it around your waist? Will it stop water? Yeah, it doesn't. It actually holds the water for it. So when you dip forward, it all goes under. So I was soaked on the morning that I did my shoot. I was standing next to my vehicle, wringing out my socks. It was like 1 degree, right? I was froze.
Oh, man. That's nuts.
Anyways, it was worth it.
Yeah, thanks for finding that out for us.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
It's cool. I've been watching.
One of us was saying that ahead of time, but
I didn't want to mention
that.
that.
Audience, yeah.
I didn't want. You were right, Ray. You were right.
Always a friend of mine, and I've been watching his photography for like the past year or so, and he's really pushing himself. You know, like he's.
Nice.
It's nice to see, you know, when somebody starts pushing themselves and trying new things and. Just exploring other stuff, and I've seen a progression in his work, and it's really cool to see. So
definitely, he's
getting after it, and he just told me, he was like, yeah, I got a dry suit, so
Nice.
So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Smart man. Smart man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. Excellent. Awesome.
So yeah, the rest of you guys, what do you guys have any
Yeah,
suggestions?
real quick. I was just gonna say, yeah,
favorites?
let's go. We won't dive into it too much, but if anybody has
No.
a piece of equipment they can mention real quick.
Does a ground pod count?
Yeah.
Is that camera related?
I would say.
Did you
it's
make
on
it?
Yeah.
No. No. Kyle.
No, you didn't make it out of
has
frying
a cool
pan?
frying pan.
Yeah, just make
yeah,
it.
no, I bought one.
$10 frying pan.
But I definitely need it for where I shoot. I probably don't need it, but I need it.
Oh yeah, no, you
For-
totally do. That would be a nightmare
Yeah.
to shoot where you shoot without it, definitely. So
Yeah, I'm
I
too
can see
weak
that
in the
being a great
wrist.
thing.
Yeah. And
Yeah, that's-
honestly, like footwear, I'm still trying to figure that out for the marsh because I used to have these things that like were like long boots and the water would just get in there and it's just, like you lift your leg and it's just all the water coming out. So yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out, but I'm just wearing sneakers now. So as Ray noticed when he shot with me.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward for me. It's actually like my computer editing all that stuff, you know. That's
yeah.
like just a huge, not camera related thing, but it's just massively important for what I do and how I do it, you know. So that's kind of a straightforward one for me. Jamin, you got anything to add you can think of? If not, we'll just move on.
You know, I just got a dry suit, and that could be one of my things. I don't know. I'm excited to try it out.
Nice, man. Yeah.
And
There's something really cool about being in freezing cold water and just being totally dry. It's just really neat. It really is. Yeah. So there's a lot of fun with that, no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. There was a question in the comments as well. I thought we could just get to real quick. Let's see. Well, real quick, Joe Mack said, I don't think you want to be jumping in the water in Florida. And I completely agree with you with the fresh water there. I probably wouldn't be jumping in that with the gators and everything, but I do go in the salt water, no problem down there because it's nice and warm all the time. Even in the winter, you can get in, which is nice. And where'd the question go? Where'd it go?
It was like, what equipment are you each using?
That's
Greg
it. Yeah,
Wilson?
Greg Wilson asked, what equipment are each of you using? So I thought we could just run down that real quick. I'm shooting a Nikon D4S, Nikon Z6 II, Nikon older version 500 f4 with stabilization. That's my go-to setup.
Yeah.
Emily.
I'm Nikon
Go ahead, Jamin.
D850 with 500 f4, and then the Z6 II. I've got FTZ adapter. I throw with the 200, 500 on there, and I've got some other lenses for there. So yeah, those are my go-tos.
Nice.
D850 and F500 F4, the lighter one.
Nice. Yeah. The I'm jealous of version. Yes.
The Nikon D850, the 500 f4 heavy version.
Nikon should sponsor us.
Yeah, right.
Should,
I was just gonna say,
yeah.
We're Nikon. And I'm the only one without an 850.
Hashtag Nikon.
Yeah, I'm the
Nikon
only
should
one
give us
without an
all 600 millimeter, you know. Ease.
That seems reasonable. Totally.
Yeah, I think so.
Why not?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Totally
Not
plugging
asking.
in, right?
Anybody
Excellent.
works at Nikon? Hit us up.
I think so.
Look us up.
Excellent. All right, cool. Awesome stuff, Brad. Thanks for sharing.
Cool.
Jamin,
No problem.
you wanna share? Let's see what
Yeah.
you've been up to.
Yep. Well, this morning was pretty epic, but I can't share with you right now.
Oh,
So,
so sad.
It's a good tease, so stay tuned to Jamin's
Yeah.
Stay
social
tuned for
media
next
and
month.
see the
Yeah.
amazing stuff he's talking about this morning.
yeah,
We did
it was
hear some
awesome.
descriptions. It does sound pretty epic, so I can't wait to see them.
Yeah, as long as my hard drive it hasn't crapped out on me. So
You still got the images on the card?
yes, I do.
There you go. So you're good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You seeing this?
Nice.
Yes.
It
Okay,
doesn't look
so-
sharp for some reason though.
Are
Are you guys noticing that?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Is it just still
Oh,
loading?
wait.
hold on a
Oh,
second.
that
There
one's
we go.
sharp. There you go.
There you
There
go.
we go.
That's better.
Okay, yeah, so this is a song sparrow. This is part of my trip down south, went down to Seward, which is like a 2.5 hour drive with a buddy of mine on Wednesday. And it was beautiful. And the morning was gorgeous. A lot of song sparrows down there. So I got one to perch on the willow catkins, and I loved the spread eagle, you know, the grip on both the branches. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, and is that like what is that plant? Do you know? Is it
I think just willow.
It's willow. Yeah.
nice? Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
Yeah, those fuzzy buds are amazing. Oh, this
Yeah.
is killer.
So
Love
pretty.
So these guys were on the opposite of this rock jetty that I was camped out at, and I was trying to be real still, and I poked my head up and I was like, oh, those jerks are on the other side of the rock. So I slowly kind of tried to peek over, and so it actually worked out really well. You know, I got the water in the background, but I got the rocks in the foreground, which actually worked out really well. I liked how that looked, but
that swoop is just in the perfect spot.
It
Yep.
is.
Yeah.
so that worked out nice.
Was that the kind of thing where were you really working that position to get that swoop where it was and kind of just to fit it, because it fits in just right there? Because
Actually, it was. I didn't have to work too hard for it, just like making sure I could, you know, get up high enough.
Okay.
So I wasn't, you know, so I wanted enough of the body to see him.
Yep.
So that was the only thing, just trying to get up high enough without spooking him off.
Gotcha. Did they stay?
He stayed for a bit, yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, and then they all swam away. They're like, nope. Finicky birds. It's funny because like 2 years ago, me and some buddies were there and we were like crawling all over the rocks and the birds are just hanging out, like didn't care.
Weird?
But this time they're like, nope.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
Annoying.
The coloring of that one kind of reminded me of female belted kingfisher, like that navy. It looks like navy and orange kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Kind of interesting how it's like the same colors.
Yep.
Very similar.
Yeah.
That's
so
sweet.
this one was, kind of got a little bit of breath.
I was just gonna
Yeah, I was
say, is
gonna
that what I
say,
see?
yeah.
Like over the top there?
Yeah. Really
Yeah, just
nice.
a little bit of breath there.
They're so fun to listen to, aren't they? Like their squeaky noises are just the cutest damn sounds. Yeah, I think they're one of the cuter sounding ducks.
And I just wasn't careful. I wasn't careful enough with these guys, and I pushed my luck, and I should have crawled much slower. And it was him and a hen down a little bit below and to his left, and I didn't creep slow enough, and they departed. So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah. That's the worst in hindsight when you realize you're like, oh, I should have taken my time, you know?
Yeah.
I've done that.
It happened to me actually twice that trip. One with a
Really?
pair of common mergansers. So, but you know, you learn.
Yeah. I don't. I usually just do it again.
I don't.
Get pissed off at myself.
Always regret.
Swear you'll never do it again, then do it again.
Yeah. You're like,
Yeah,
I'm always going to
exactly.
take the time. But was it morning you were shooting those or evening?
Yeah.
Yeah, so morning does it to me every time because you're chasing that light. It's
Yep.
like all I think
True.
in my head is every minute the light's getting worse. So I'm just like,
Harsher.
I
Yeah.
end up,
And
it ends up pushing me.
That's exactly, I think, what was going through my head. Like,
Yep.
oh, I got to make the most of this light, man. It's too good, you know?
Mm.
So,
Yep.
I mean, this one's not anything too special, you know, bald
I
eagle.
love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Nice
Those
cruiser.
juvies are special
Nice.
looking though. They always are.
Yeah,
cool
they're
looking. I
cool.
think they're overshadowed by the adults, but they're always such cool looking intricate patterns on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, so
there you go.
cool.
Nice.
I got back from Seward and my buddy dropped me off in my car. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go back to the pond here real quick while the light's good. And so I drove over there and, you know, on the way home and just like, I was desperate for anything. I was like, oh, this sunset's magical, you know, like everything was so good and the light was beautiful. And like, there's nothing going on except mallards around, you know, and all the other ducks are like way on the other side of the lake. I'm like, oh, come on, anything.
yeah.
And then the mallard flies in. And so that was, you know,
Nice.
I'll take it.
So awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Thanks.
I think we can all relate to it here of that concept of I will take anything in this
Any
light.
bird.
Give me the
Oh,
most
yeah.
that flies.
boring, doesn't matter bird. I
Yeah.
will take it in this light because it will look
Mhm.
amazing. And I think that
Definitely.
goes to the whole, you know, a boring bird in great light, like in a great photo, is still better than some amazing bird in just like a basic documentary shot. You know what I mean? So you'll just
Yeah.
take anything at that point. Yeah.
Totally.
100%.
All right.
Love this.
Bufflehead.
Love
This
it.
guy was like cruising on like this shadow part of this lake.
Yeah.
And I had the beat on a couple of mergansers, but this guy flew in at a bit of a distance. And so this is a bit of a crop on the 850, but I really liked how this one looked. I can just see a bit of the green from the lake where the sun was hitting it.
Yeah.
And then this is another one. I can't
Nice.
decide which one I liked better. So
Oh, they're both great.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I like the first one, but they are both stellar. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's just something about that head angle. I like the streak coming down.
Yeah.
On that. It's
just a little bit of eye shine.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Which you got the eye on the other one, right?
I
You
did.
did, yeah.
Yeah.
Be slightly
And
looking away. So
Yeah.
And it's so hard with those kind of shots too, because any little slight angle, like you'll lose that little bit of a
Right.
catch light in the eye. So like those two are perfect.
Well, and that's it. When they're swimming that way into the hard light coming left, they almost have to look away to get it, depending on
Yeah,
that
that's what I
angle, because
mean,
if they
yeah.
look towards you, they're in shade. So
Yep.
yeah.
Exactly.
I have shots where you can't see, like his head is dark. So
Yep.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Jamin, was the Mallard in flight with a Z6
No, that was the D850.
Okay, that was another question.
The Eagle was the Z6 though.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
So
This guy is so funny.
I know. It's
this
awesome.
this is with the Z6 as well. With the, I think I had the teleextender on the 1.4 with the 200/500. So I'm at F8.
Okay.
And
Wow.
I see this guy down there, and I'm like, I ran down. Well, I didn't run down, but I walked down to the beach. There's this rocky beach, and so I got down. I don't have waders on or anything, so like I'm not laying down. I'm like kind of like sticking my butt up in the air, like on my knees, like down, trying to get the angle. And I see this guy coming, and so I was able to lock on him quite a few times. And this was one of my favorites, where he just kind of poked his head up, over the wave. You just kind of like see these goofy eyes and the ringlets, or the droplets of water on his head, and
the lines are cool. I think that's
It's so
neat.
interesting how it
Yep.
so perfectly lines up those water droplets.
Yeah, I love it when that happens on loons.
Yeah,
Yes.
you see it a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
on loons.
Yep.
Yeah.
But he had a little,
Ooh.
do I have something in
Love
my,
that.
Dude,
I
you
had
got
something in my
got a little
bill?
something hanging there?
Yeah.
Oh, the color on the head is so nice.
Yeah, they're
That's
beautiful.
so cool.
Well, it's funny because like common golden eyes, they have more of a green sheen to their head feathers, and then the barrows have more of like a blue kind of thing.
Mhm.
But
That's
yeah,
cool with the what is it? Has he got
What's
shellfish
he got
or
there?
is it crab?
I am not sure. Some little crab or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yeah.
or mussel or
That's
something.
cool.
And a little salad to go with it. Nice.
Yeah, perfect.
Seafood salad.
Seafood salad.
Oh, that's stellar, man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So this guy he was perched on these like shipping containers. So
So random.
yeah, I was just gonna switch portrait, and he flew off. So I was hoping to get a little bit more of his body in there, but
that
headshot
light
was
looks
great.
amazing.
That works.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Love that.
Love that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Little slug
this guy
or
was
something.
he kept diving down and pulling up. I don't even know what these are, like little blackfish or something like that. But
The glow on it is beautiful. Yeah. Their heads look a little bit more slender than like the cormorants we get over here.
pelagics they have a real thin bill.
Are they a little bit smaller bodied?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think double crested are a little bit bigger.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah,
So
beautiful.
nice.
Yeah, it is definitely more
Beautiful.
slender.
Yeah.
Oh.
It is. Yeah.
Orbs.
Dude, so what
Orbs.
bubbles?
Love
Like
the
bubbles
balls.
floating on the water? Is that what was doing it? 'Cause it's
Yeah,
dead
it's just
calm.
the waves coming in. I mean, it was so calm, and this is the ocean, right? So it was super calm that morning, and it's just little waves that were popping up, just little ripples in the water. And I think this was a Z6 with the teleconverter on there too. So I'm shooting at F8 with this thing, and it's still
Nice.
giving me nice.
That's crazy.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think with that teleconverter? I hate the teleconverter on my D4S with the 500 millimeter.
Yeah.
Put the same exact thing on the Z6 II, tack sharp every time, just razor sharp.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. In fact, I wish I forgot my teleconverter this morning, but I wish I would have had it, because it was bufflehead that just wouldn't come any closer. But
That's
I think
what I
it's
use it for,
700
ducks, yeah.
millimeters. It would have been great.
Yep.
And F8, like throwing that on my 200/500, I get F8 is the maximum, but still, like when you're down on the water and the
It doesn't
shoreline's far away,
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter.
at all. Yeah, so it's great.
Hmm.
So first robin, we found this
First robin. What do you mean?
Of the season.
First robin of the year. Like
Oh,
it
okay.
probably doesn't make any sense, but to us it's like a big deal when spring is here.
Yeah, same.
We're all like excited to see a robin. You guys are like, yeah, we see this all that.
That was-
We did some-
Actually, I
Emily's
saw
like,
my
"Huh?
first
What?"
robin. No, I did. I saw my first robin this year, so I was
Okay.
really
Nice.
excited. Yeah.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, I'm not alone. Okay.
Yeah, and I think
But I
that's
am.
one last. I think that's it for my fairly recent stuff. Little Barrow's Golden Eye. Yeah, that was cool. Another ocean shot. Same place as that cormorant too.
I mean, the odds that you take that trip and get those conditions are so slim. You know, you got to you just know when you show up to a spot like that, you're like, oh, I'm so lucky today, right?
Like 2 hours later, the wind picked up and it ended up being windy like all day, which made it hard. So, yeah. And then this is some stuff. I think
that little green there.
Yeah, this guy was like the prettiest pintail I've ever seen. It's just like this hint of green, almost like American widgeon kind of
Super
bit.
nice.
Right. Yeah. So I'll just run through these real quick. This
I love that.
It was funny because
got a dreamy feel.
Yeah, I'm laying on a ice shelf, right, with some snow, and there's this log right beside me with a bunch of snow on it, and he lands on the other side of this log. So that's what all this is that snow. And I had to manual focus this thing because the camera wanted to grab on the log because I wasn't seeing very much of the duck. So like I'm sitting there like trying to manual focus this bird, and like it was crazy. But I really love
this shot, man. This is one of my favorite of the stuff.
So
really
it's really nice.
Thanks. Super fun. And that one too.
This one too.
Yeah.
And then
that little fishy.
Emilie loves the fishies.
I do.
But okay, so that's probably plenty from me.
Killer stuff, man. Nice to see you
really
back in business up there.
Oh, it feels good.
Oh, I'm sure, man. I mean, we could just tell in your attitude, just like, chatting with you and talking to you, which makes sense. I don't mean it as like you, like anybody would be going through the same thing, right?
I had the winter blues bad.
Yeah.
It's a long winter.
Turn on like that. It's gotta be. It's gotta feel.
Meanwhile, Ray is like, guys, I had the most amazing morning.
Yeah. Running on the beach in my shorts.
All right, I'm gonna share one from Wild Convos.
Okay.
Nice.
I love this.
So cool.
I love it.
It's just so different, it's so different than anything else that I was seeing. It's like throwing up a gang sign, It's like,
that's like West Side.
It's hard to figure it out. Is that front foot, back foot? Front foot.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It
looks. I can see
the eyes are really cool too.
Everything about this, man.
But isn't there another frog on the back of the other one? And it's just that there's another frog.
There is. There's another eye back there.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is one you could just look at for a while.
Right?
Wow.
Obviously, you're kind of drawn into that eye right away.
So cool.
That's definitely the focal point. No mistake. But like,
for sure.
Past the eye, and you start looking around at some of the other stuff, and like, I didn't even see that other frog. So that's another.
That's good catch. I didn't notice it either.
Yeah.
Lighting is insane on that one too, and it's so cool how it's framed with its own foot, or maybe it's the other frog's foot. I don't know, or toad, or whatever it is. It's just neat how it's framed with like an element of the animal itself.
Yeah.
It's like his little dude sidekick in the back giving it a sign, right? West Side.
Totally.
That's funny. Yeah, I just went to Isabella's page and started following her, and she's got a bunch of cool
she's got
stuff.
awesome
she's
stuff.
got underwater seals and other stuff like that. Just really cool stuff. So
I kind of thought this photo looks like an underwater shot actually. So I'm wondering if it is. Yeah.
I think so. That would be my guess.
And that's another great thing with this hashtag. I started scrolling through to pick out a photo. I'm like, dude, some of this amazing stuff I've never seen. I'm like, follow,
Yeah.
I just hadn't been aware of it. So I started following a bunch of people from it. So yeah, that was really cool.
Okay.
All right. So and then you got the question?
I got a question here. Can you guys see that?
No.
Or is it? No. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing and then share again.
Cool. Stop and share again.
Okay.
Thanks for all the comments and questions in the comments, by the way, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it. It makes it fun, when we can kind of interact and with our audience. Yeah, super cool. So Emilie, She says, my 7-year-old daughter and I are just getting started on bird photography. We got a Nikon D3500 and are practicing on auto right now. So tips for beginners. And yeah, I picked this question because it was really similar to my story. I started with like a D5100, which is not that different from the D3500. And I started in auto. And I think what I would suggest is just to look at the settings the camera's picking. Like just go through your photos, and as you're going through stuff, just notice, if you get a blurry image, notice what your camera's doing. You learn a bit about, exposure theory, about aperture, shutter speed, ISO, and how they work together, and then start analyzing and looking at the photos that your camera takes. And I went from auto, and I think I went from there to shutter priority mode, because I was noticing in auto, when I would get blurry images, that the shutter wasn't fast enough. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to switch now to shutter priority mode so I can make sure that I'm stopping these birds. And so I must have shot for like a year in shutter priority mode. And then I switched to aperture priority mode because I learned more, and learned that, okay, now I want to control the aperture. I want, my camera's choosing for me, but I want to open that up, when I started learning like what I like a bit more. And so I shot with aperture priority mode for a while, and that worked really well. And then, now I shoot full manual most of the time. And I just prefer having like, the full control. But yeah, that's what I would say, is just pay attention to what the settings your camera is doing. And then when you feel confident that you could, work in aperture priority or shutter priority, try one of those and just experiment, just play with it. Even setting up perches around your house and shooting chickadees or, whatever birds are coming to your house. That's a great place to learn from, and it's a great place to practice. So get after it.
And to add to what, I was going to say, to add to James, what you're saying about even setting up perch, and this might sound silly, go get a stuffed toy. Go get a bird, stuffed bird, whatever, stick it on a stump in a woods somewhere, or put it anywhere and shoot it, get close to it. You've got a static object. Don't wait to necessarily have a situation. Then you feel like you're panicking, you're stumbling. Just put anything. Yeah. One of your kids' toys or a pet Junko. Exactly.
I would say also to like not be scared of breaking the rules or whatever. Like I didn't know anything when I started, and just through like not fearing like breaking the rules of photography, of shooting backlight and that kind of stuff, like just try different things and see what happens. Also like shooting in good light will increase the odds of a nice picture. So I would recommend that, like sunset, sunrise time.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, you got to clarify what good light is, because I think for beginners, and I don't mean this in a negative way, right? Because every single one of us went through this. You don't know what good light is. You can't see it, right? Exactly. I work with a bunch of people that will take a photo in midday sun, and they're just like, I tell them like, oh, it's this, it's really contrasty. The shadows are heavy, and they're just like, they just stare at me blankly because they just don't see it yet. But then, a month, 2 months, a year later, then they see it and it clicks, and it's just all of a sudden, it's obvious. They kind of wonder, how did I not see that? But that's the truth, right? You just don't see it yet. And so the only other advice I have to add to this question is go out and shoot. Totally. That's what I recommend the most. Listening to our show is one of the other best things you can do.
And sharing it with your friends.
I would say essential. I would say essential.
Essential for growth in photography. Now, listening to other shows, watching videos, learning that way is all helpful, but it is never a substitute for getting out and shooting. You're going to learn so much more yourself with the camera in your hand out in the field than you will from those, videos and reading and stuff like that. They're all helpful, but the getting out more is a better thing. So that's my tip on that. Cool. All right. Excellent. I don't think there was any other questions with comments there. So Emilie, you're up.
Go, Emilie.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to preface with that I was in Florida last week, and these are very rough edits of a lot of pictures. and I was
She's been
editing up
complaining to
till-
us for so long. I have too many photos. I don't know what to do. Everything is so good.
Okay, no, that is not what I said.
No.
I didn't even look at them. Okay,
Yeah.
let's see. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Sweet with the
Yep.
stilts. Yes.
I love that.
Okay, so this was the first time that I've seen stilts, so I was really
Nice.
excited, even though
Nice.
it's like far away and kind of
Oh, this is
not
like
ideal.
perfect framing
I love
for
it.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a
Perfect
close
for
shot.
Ray.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like super excited to see them, and we only saw them. I was shooting with Theo this morning, and they were only there, and then they kind of disappeared. And but anyway, it was just like a few seconds, and I got a few shots, so I was
Nice.
very happy to just see them.
Oh, cool.
This is another one, very
There you
far
go.
away, very cropped in. This guy just looking nice. with
Boat-tailed?
his- Yes, I think.
Yep.
That's a what? Sorry, what?
Boat-tailed grackle.
Boat-tailed grackle.
Oh,
They
okay,
have some
yeah.
really nice iridescent.
Yeah, they do.
do.
Yeah.
Plumage for sure. Yeah, so one of the main goals of the trip was to see young burrowing owls.
Love it.
And these
Oh,
guys
it's so cute.
are just, they're so
Adorable.
cute. And I got to see a couple of different ones, like I guess one bigger brother and younger brother. You should be able to see. Okay, here's mom and or dad and baby getting cozy
getting
and
fed.
cute.
Look at those.
Oh,
They were
love
they were
that.
just snuggling there. They were like
okay,
doing
okay.
this like kissy thing. It was really cute.
Nice.
And then
Like
a lot
owls.
of the lighting, the backlighting is just urban elements of
Yeah.
whatever was in the background.
Mhm.
I'm sure you guys saw my neon green background of the sports car that I posted on
Yes.
Instagram yesterday.
Yep.
Like super random stuff, but it's just like you go with the flow because
Works.
these guys were literally in a baseball field. So it's like whatever drives by or happens to be in the background is what you're going to see in the background. So it's like some natural elements of green and stuff, but those like purples and pinks can sometimes be, from people's houses or cars or just
Totally,
like whatever.
They add great interest back there. Yeah, they
It
really
does.
do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what's going on with these like lines that are in the photos. It could be from like somebody's house. I'm not really sure,
Yep.
but
Yeah, or like a fence
doesn't-
post in front of it, or who
Yeah,
knows, right?
or that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't bother me too much, but I mean, these guys are just so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh,
That's early. That's like real early or late, is it? One of the other?
probably early. I think we shot these guys in the morning.
Because those
It's
pupils are
super cropped in.
massive.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
huge.
yeah. It was morning, yeah. And it was
Yeah.
overcast too. So yeah, there
That's
was
adorable.
Yeah.
not a whole lot of light coming in. So
Classic
this one I
angry
thought was
bird.
kind of funny because they both doing the little angry
Just
stare.
looking down at something. Like, what's going on
Yeah,
down there?
or yeah, who knows? I just thought it was kind of funny. You can see how fluffy that guy is compared to. Yeah, and this
Beautiful.
one is another car in the background or multiple
Nice.
cars. I like the colors
It's
there.
so fun playing with that stuff, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah,
I
and
love
it just kind of
Yeah.
random what you get based on
Yep.
like when you
What's
know.
randomly driving by. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like super random.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah, I was
pretty.
happy to get some flowers with these
Mhm.
guys. And they're just so cute. I mean, it's just like you're sitting there with them and you're just like, oh, so cute. Yeah, here's another moment. You can see the mom was just kind of
Yep.
like, I don't know, kissing her baby.
That
And
one's
it's
really
like-
The
tiny.
legs.
Yeah.
So there were
Yeah.
smaller ones than like I wish I would have put in one that you could see the like big brother and small brother, but yeah, it was just fun to see these guys.
Reddish.
Then of course reddish egrets and handsome Dunlin and breeding plumage.
He's looking
Beautiful.
great.
Yeah,
Love
all the
leg
birds
position.
are looking like super nice this time of year, of course.
Yeah.
So just some classic.
Those Dunlin are like one of my favorite breeding plumage
Yeah,
shorebirds.
I know,
They're
you
just
had-
real striking. Yeah. Oh,
told
sweet.
me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so this was kind of fun. I mean, it's kind of weird light. It was overcast, but I got some action, so I was
Yeah.
happy with
That's
that.
good.
I love
Waterfowl
when
for
you
you
can see
guys.
multiple splashes from their feet in one shot.
Yeah.
It really shows you how fast that happens, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Oops, what did I do? Ah, guys, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, more reddish,
Beautiful light.
Those are cool.
Yeah.
little
Nice
sandpiper.
least.
Oh,
Piping plover, which we don't get in breeding plumage here, as far as I know. I mean, maybe I should take a trip to the beach and find out. But I've never seen
I
them.
would think you would, but
Well,
Yeah.
I really don't think any of the shorebirds nest here, and I don't know if it's just because our beaches are too like populated or why they wouldn't, but I don't know.
Yeah,
As far as I know,
I think most of them breed further north, except for like snowy plover is the only one, and then I think we're the southern range of piping plover breeding.
Okay.
I think. So
Little
I
fishy.
think you're just in a weird spot.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So we don't, I mean, we get like the egrets and stuff breeding, but not,
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Little
Oh,
duckling in back
gorgeous.
right.
Ducky,
Love
that
it.
background's killer.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So this,
I love
this
that.
was really interesting. I was shooting with Theo and we were in this like random spot of little beach area where there was also like people like partying and like enjoying their lives, and it was just like this tiny little stretch of beach, and we found this magic spot
Nice.
within it that had some sanderlings and turnstones, ready
Oh,
turnstones.
okay. Sanderlings are the best. I feel like you walk to any beach on Florida
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, Sanderling.
Guaranteed
Yeah.
sanderlings.
Yeah.
They're my favorite.
Oh,
They're
that's
so
sweet.
cute.
Oh, yeah, that's
wow.
nice.
So there's just like tons of bokeh everywhere because it's like the shells
Yeah.
are lit up and
shells
the
are nice
ocean,
addition,
the
too.
waves
Yep.
are, yeah. So it's just like little bokeh everywhere.
Those are magically delicious.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I like the out of focus one
Look at
too.
that.
Yeah,
That's
that
cool.
reminded me of your Dunlin a little bit.
Yeah, totally. In that same vein,
Yeah.
definitely.
Um,
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, and then some
Look at that
pelican
crashing
shots.
Oh,
I
that's
like
cool.
that. That's cool.
Oh, these colors.
Nice.
So this was, yeah, one spoony
Spoonies.
in there.
That's beautiful. Can
Yeah,
you come
go
back
back.
to that?
This guy?
Yeah,
Go back.
Yeah.
I
That's
love
such a-
that.
Oh,
That tells such a cool story.
yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this beach, it was really cool. I mean, I didn't have time to edit the other ones from this morning with like
Is this
smaller
near
frames,
Sebastian
kind of.
Inlet?
Yeah. So this was, we were gonna go there, and then we kind of were running out of time because we're always behind schedule. Something about me and my mom to know. So we saw the sunrise was gonna start, rising, and so we found this beach that was like on the way. So we're like, okay, detour, and just she waited by the car because it was coin parking and we didn't have any coins. So she was in the car and I'm at the beach. I felt kind of bad because it was a beautiful sunrise. But yeah, this beach was really cool because you had like really big crashing waves, and then there was a bunch of these just kind of like, I don't know, divots or whatever.
It
So
kind of curves, right? Yep.
yeah, and like multiple of those. So yeah, it kind of gave an interesting, I had some like head poke ones, but I didn't get the chance
Really
to.
good depth. And I love the crashing
Yeah,
waves
it's
framing
nice.
the bird on this. That's insane.
Yeah, so I thought this one was kind of cool. It's not
Yeah.
super in focus, but LOL, it's fine. No worries.
Oh, good.
But yeah,
Sweet.
this morning I was kind of just practicing with
Nice.
pelicans in flight. And yeah. Oh, and then this guy. I think
Gorgeous
that might be
breeding.
the
Really
end.
nice.
Yeah, this guy was super handsome. He's like
Yeah.
the ideal
Yeah.
tricolored.
Beautiful.
Yep. That blue
Beautiful.
is neon on the bill.
Oh,
Look at
wow.
Yeah. So, and then like a little bit of purple in there, and
that. I
that
know. I've
bright
never
red
seen one
eye.
that far in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Really.
yeah, super handsome guy here.
It's so
Okay,
incredible.
think
I wish we could do that as humans, right? Just seasonally change our colors, like how we look.
Just be like,
isn't that
oh.
amazing? Well, and they
Yeah.
grow extra feathers and stuff. It's just
Yeah.
incredible how they change like that. Are there any other
Cute.
species that do that? Like
other than birds. I don't know.
mammals don't do
Not-
that at all, right? Fish, maybe?
No.
I don't know. Yeah, you know what? I've seen some videos of fish changing when they get into breeding season. I don't know if it's a common thing, but I know some do that. But yeah, it's predominantly a bird thing, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get my question for you guys.
All right, cool. And then we have a couple of questions
Question.
in the comments we'll hit after you
Okay.
wrap up there, Emily.
Cool.
Okay, so our question was from this guy, and
All right, from
sorry, I don't know what's sharing on the screen, but
that's
I'm
okay.
gonna
We
just
can
read
see
it real
his
quick.
account, so you can read the
Okay.
question. Yeah, that'll be
It
good.
says, "Hey guys, greetings from the UK. Love these shows. What's your single most effective piece of advice you can pass on to us budding wildlife photographers to help us improve that you've learned on your own photographic journeys to date?" And something that I wanted to say was, so here's his work. Just like
Nice.
patience and allowing time to learn, but also just like when you're in the field, because so I was in Florida recently, like I said, and I was at this one place in Fort DeSoto where it seemed like this poor reddish egret was just like performing for the photographers there. And I noticed that this guy was just kind of like stalking the bird. And I felt really bad at that point. I was just thinking like, give this bird a second to just do what it's doing and stop like chasing after it. Because if you just stay back and let it do its thing, it'll come to you, or you know what I mean? Like, just give it time, stay in one spot, and just these like wading birds, especially, they take their time and they go, you know. So I guess my advice would be to be patient with the whole process and like learning how to improve, and also just patience in the field of trying to, like let the birds be themselves and never kind of like force them to fly away from you and keep flying away from you. And like he's going to keep fishing, but you're causing him to expend more energy than he has to. So it's like, just let it be. That would be,
you're going to miss those interesting behaviors
by just like stalking him, you know. So it's like, just set yourself up and let nature happen, kind of.
Yeah, great advice. Definitely. Anybody else have anything to add on that question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would reiterate something Ray said a little bit earlier, is just shoot.
That too, yeah.
Just go out and, you know, rain, shine, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's stuff around, just go practice. Go practice in the rain, practice in the snow.
That's a great point, right? Don't only go out when conditions are perfect.
Yeah.
Just go out anyway and make something happen, you know?
Some of my favorite shots, I mean, one in particular, I see oyster catchers there on the screen, but one of my favorite oyster catcher shots, it was absolutely pouring down rain and I was miserable, but I love what I got. You know, it's like those moments, you just push it, you know, push yourself. Don't let yourself get stagnant. Don't let yourself, you know, think you've arrived, because nobody has. You know, just keep pushing, keep practicing.
And one thing that I've found that I think has improved my photography in the past while is to study a location. So look beyond the bird or look beyond your subject and take a particular location and study it. To me, I've written about it before, is that like, I think each location in terms of say like a pond or whatever has like these sweet spots where the light's going to hit at a certain time of the morning or certain time in the evening or whatever, and to kind of sit back and see how that light plays on the environment and get that knowledge under your belt, so that way when an opportunity presents itself, you know where to get and you know how to get into that kind of that sweet spot. So I think looking at light and looking at your particular locations can certainly help.
Yeah, very much agree. And the last thing I have to add is pay attention to perspective. That was a big learning lesson for me, both with things on the ground and in the water, and with things in trees, you know, or any elevation, really. Just pay attention to that perspective. If we can get on that subject's perspective, it usually makes so much better of a connecting photo. So that was kind of a big important one for me as I kind of grew as a photographer. So all right, Emilie, what's the photo you picked?
So here's my picture. And yeah, when I saw this, I was just like, this is so cool. And it's that, like that silhouette, but those little drops that make it just kind of stand out, and that little sparkle right there in the middle of the beak, kind of. It was just like one of those, oh wow, like this is really cool. So yeah, it grabbed my attention, and I thought it was very worthy of talking about.
So such dark, dramatic rim light on this too, you know, no detail in the duck, but we can still tell what it is. Mallard, right? Yeah, there. I would before you even read it, you can just tell by the shape. And that drop, it's all about that drop, that water drop.
Yeah, and like you can even see the like landscape it looks like within the drop. You know, I love that.
Oh yeah,
I feel like it's really
cool.
Oh, sorry.
You got it.
I always love to see that, like when I'm at the beach and stuff, and I can see in the droplet. Of course, it's really hard to translate that into the Instagram tiny screen, and I'm like
Yeah.
always so excited. I'm like, wow, you can see the whole ocean in the droplet of the, but like of course nobody sees it when they're just like scrolling like you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always love that small detail of where you can kind of see the whole background within the droplet too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Excellent. Anything else you had to do? We got everything right on your end, Emilie?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, perfect. Cool. All right. A few questions and comments. Kyle mentioned that some winter animals do change their coats, their color. So like, he mentioned like ermine, mink, you know, the hares.
Snowshoe hare,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
Yeah,
And
so
stuff
that's something
sheds.
that
I mean,
changes seasonally. Yeah.
yeah, most like moose and elk, caribou, stuff like that. They shed their winter coats, and it always looks a little bit. I mean,
yeah. So there is that as well. So that was great. Thanks for adding that, Kyle. Let's see. Nick Can in the comments asked, with camera manufacturers pushing mirrorless cameras with 8K, 14, 16-bit raw video output, how do you think that, or do you think that will change your approach to wildlife? I'm guessing he's talking about like, you know, basically having video that you can pull stills from.
Nab steals
out
of,
Yeah. And I think that remains to be seen. I really don't know. You know, I don't think that's something I can confidently say either way if it will or if it won't until it's, you know, something that I actually get to play with and see what the possibilities are. You know, I know one of the things with, you know, usually traditionally with video, people are trying to shoot slower shutter speed. So if there's action involved, then you're not going to get tack sharp frames that you can pull out anyway. So that's, you know, a thought that does come to mind there. But for a lot of other things, then maybe you could. But also then it's like, for me, in my mind, it's like a time-consuming thing. It's already a lot, you know, as Emilie is experiencing now, going through all these photos from a trip. You know, when you shoot thousands of them, what happens when you have quite literally, you know, if you're shooting tons of video, you might have hundreds of thousands of frames to potentially pick from. Like time-consuming wise, is that even worth it at that point with that trade-off? I don't know, you know, but it's an interesting question.
Is that one feather move, you know,
yeah,
out of,
right?
You know,
one little feather
out of 500 of a flap, you know, like I've got a buddy that's got the I actually have two friends that have the A1, the Sony A1.
Yeah, that's what he was mentioning.
One of them was talking about how, like, you know, at 30, what is it, 30 frames a second or something like that? That it's like,
it is video at that point.
Ridiculous amount of photos of keepers, and it's like, how do you pick? He was having such a hard time like picking the right, you know, and even that, and that's not even like the 8K video, you know, pulling a frame out of a video. It's just like, I mean, so much more, but it's like you're getting, you know, you talk about filling up a hard drive pretty quick, you know.
Do you guys think that it would, I don't know, I foresee myself, like if I was doing that, would it remove some of the challenge or that anticipation of like, hey, it's going to happen now, click, 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 you know what I mean? Like if I'm running video and I'm just like, you know, I know you still got to track and whatever, but say, I don't know, you're just on a stilt or whatever, and it's there in the pond, and, you know, all of a sudden, like it takes off and you're just holding the video still, like, I don't know. Like I love that feeling like I'm immersed in it. I'm just anticipating, right? That action or something happening where I want to press the trigger, not sit there. Okay, run the video. Yes, got 10 minutes of that. I'll just pick what I like out of it. I don't know. I don't know if I'd like it.
It's a whole different workflow idea. Yeah. Exactly. I think it remains to be seen, you know, but then there's also, what about little moments that maybe you didn't even see happen, right? And then if you're scrubbing through some video and you're just like, the bird did this one little thing for a split second that maybe you didn't even see, and now you have it captured in video, and now you have this moment. So you know, there's a positive side in that regard. So who knows?
Certainly, yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
But it all sounds like a nightmare to store and go through and edit and all that stuff. So
can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, well, for all of you guys, do any of you? What's the fastest frame rate any of your cameras shoot? So, for example, my D4S will do 11 or 12 frames a second. I almost never put it on that. Traditionally, I'll shoot 6 or 7. I just find that to be more than enough because unless I'm shooting intense action, you know, crazy birds in flight, and I want those frames on there, I don't need it. It's just redundant and unnecessary for most of what I shoot. So I was curious what your guys' experience is with that.
Yeah, I never even hammer down on like when I'm shooting too. I'm very selective when I'm
Yeah.
shooting too. Sometimes
Okay.
even with action stuff, I'm like click, 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 click. I'm not like I just
Yeah.
don't. I think mine's 7 frame, whatever it is, the D850. I think it's what is it without the battery grip? It's only like 7 frames or something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Whatever it is. I mean, I don't. I rarely hammer down unless it's like really intense action. But
Yep.
Yeah. I'm kind
Cool.
of the same. I've got the battery grip on the D850, so I get the 9 frames a second. But
Yeah.
like when I first started out, of course I'm holding down, all the
same
time.
here.
Like,
yeah.
but yeah, I've gotten a lot more selective. Like I think it depends on the situation. Like this morning, when that widgeon was swimming around and I wanted that breath, then I'm hammering down because I want that 1 frame.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But it's those are unique situations that you're
Correct.
not always or if a bird a duck's in the water flapping in front of you, then you're going to hold it down just because you want that frame. So there's situations where you're going to hold down the shutter, but like a lot of times I'll just like even just do 1 shot, and that's the one I like. So
yeah
you don't always need it.
Yeah, totally. I think that's exactly it, right? I think there's situations where it is an advantage, but then there's plenty of times where you just don't need it. And I'm out with a lot of people sometimes, and we're like the bird lands on a perch, and they're just like lighting this thing up. I'm like,
right.
Okay,
Yeah, you're gonna have like
a couple of those would do, like maybe even
50
like
frames of the same bird on the same stick.
And I think you stop watching and looking for just the right moments at that point. You're just you're just flying through it, right? So if you slow down and don't shoot as much, you can actually see through your viewfinder better. Without the mirror flapping in the way, and you can watch for that head angle to be just right or whatever, and then try and capture that kind of thing. So,
but and to add to that, for like the beginner shooters out there and maybe not having a pro body or whatever, like you're buffering, so you hammer down.
Oh yeah,
guaranteed. Afterwards, you hammer down. Then it's going to do the action. You're like, come on, buffer, right? And then now I can shoot. Click, click. Oh, I got 2 frames, and I got to wait again. So yeah.
That's a good point. And I think going back to like the beginner tips, for beginners or whatnot is a point that's been made before, but it's worth bringing up now, is to like see through your subject, and like pay attention to your backgrounds. And once that was like a big turning point for me, is when I really started paying attention to my backgrounds and waiting till the bird hit a background that was clean or that I liked, instead of just like following it through the brush, and like, every time I get focused on it, but then just like slowing down, like you said, slow down and just wait and see what it does, and see if it hits some perches that are cleaner with a nicer background, and then wait till its head is turned. I'm not going to take the photo if the bird's like looking away from me. I want like a profile, or if he's looking at me, I want that engagement. So those are like, things you got to look for.
Yeah. And that being said, I still shoot way too much. Like I still get excited and the bird's doing something cool and I'm firing. I even have moments in the field where I'm like, in my head, as I'm like, why am I taking this?
Why am I taking this?
Why am I pressing this shutter button as I press the shutter button? So I totally get the excitement of it, right? Sometimes it's just flat out fun to shoot, So there is that element of it as well.
And it's funny when you're culling through your images, you're like, what the hell was I doing?
Like,
what?
It's
like
just
delete.
Obvious delete. Yeah, it's no question. And you're like, in that moment, you're like, "Go, this will be great."
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So that still hasn't gone. Which, to me, I think there's kind of a cool element to that. I still think for every one of us that does that, it shows you still have that excitement, right? You still just have that spark, that interest, that passion for it. That sometimes all logic just kind of goes out the window and you just start shooting anyway. So,
funny story. When I was shooting with Ray. And he had the mirrorless with the silent shutter, and I didn't realize that. And I was like, why isn't he taking any pictures? Like, should I not be taking pictures right now? And he was like, isn't this silent shutter weird? And I'm like, oh, okay. So he's taking pictures. So I was a little like insecure about taking photos because I thought that he wasn't taking any. But
Emilie, I've totally had that when the mirrorless first started showing up. I'm taking clients out, and the bird's there, and I'm like, why aren't they shooting? This is amazing. Why aren't they shooting? And then it would finally dawn on me. I'm like, oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's
they are
so
shooting.
weird.
Yeah. It is really weird at first, but once you get used to it, I absolutely love it. You know.
Yeah, it's cool. It
definitely
doesn't
is
spook
nice.
the birds, which is awesome.
Yeah, and even like I'm shooting a lot of warblers right now, and even though most of the time it really doesn't spook them, there's still something nice at just not having that shutter like flapping away in your ear, you know?
The D850 is loud.
It is.
It's just that shutter claps so hard, man. It's clap, 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 you know?
Yeah.
The next comment I saw, a follow-up from Nick, was, does anyone think the current laptops in the last 18 months have the ability to use 8K video output? As my friend has bought a Sony A1 and will try out the video. I use a Nikon D5, D6. Too technical for me, man. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't
sorry.
know.
Yeah.
I
Does
wish
anybody
I
have an
did.
answer
No.
on that one? Yeah. I wish we were more technical that way, but
Not technical.
none of us are. Yeah.
Fail.
Yeah. All right. I think I caught up on everything, so I guess I'll share and start with all right, so I did a trip to Florida. I was down there for 3 weeks, so I'll just jump through some of that. Really fun time. Ran some workshops down there. Tried to I had some time to go out and shoot on my own, so tried to get really creative. This kind of shot is something I'm doing a lot of lately, where I'm just trying to get as weird as possible as I can, basically, is my intention. I just really like trying to get more abstract, put really weird things in front of the subject, in between me and them. You know, again, just going absolutely and utterly small in frame, minuscule in frame even, sometimes. And then playing with backlight with these spoonbills, fun silhouettes. Had a client with me this day, so we were both able to make this shot happen, which was really cool. It's amazing when you're doing this stuff, when you're trying to line up that sun in just the right spot and how fast it moves. Like, you watch the sun, in the sky with your eye.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, it's just taking forever. But as soon as you get telephoto on it and you're trying to line something up, you're like, damn, that thing is moving quick. And it still throws me off to this day. I know it happens, but how much it goes sideways versus just down, you know? You find yourself just moving sideways a lot to keep it lined up as it's dropping like that. You're like, wow, it's crazy how this stuff moves. So yeah, just fun time. So this was an example of being in the water down in Florida. So this was a saltwater in the inland waterway there. So I was swimming around with this oyster catcher, which was a lot of fun. Trying to do some different stuff with just getting those black dramatic backgrounds.
Super cool.
Yeah, we're shooting with Theo down there. Emily mentioned Theo, so that's Wind and Wing on Instagram. We're both friends with him. Really fun photographer. So I was shooting with him on this, and I was glad that he mentioned we were both out shooting 500 mils, and he was like, oh, I'm going to go grab my 7200. And I happen to have mine in the car too. And it was something that it was so great to be out with somebody that suggested that, because I don't think that would have popped into my head. I think I was just so set on, this is my lens, and listen, I can back up and shoot with it. Right. But it still isn't going to give that same look as, 70 or 100 millimeter will be compared to 500 millimeter, when you're way the hell back. So it was really cool that he suggested I grab that, and I was really happy I did. And it was nice. I had two cameras, so I was able to just kind of have one on each, just like you were shooting, Jamin, with your Z6 and having a different lens on that. It's a nice setup when you have a spot where you're not moving around that much, right? Yeah. Yeah, little Lisa Sandpiper. I have the whole sequence. I have this one, then him midair, and then
100 of them, or
his like feet out. 3 of them. Yeah, so that's the amount that I shot. Not 100 of them.
Nice.
I struggle so hard with shots like this. Like I end up in it, always missing focus on him at the critical point.
Dude, complete dumb luck. That's really all it was. Yeah, he happened to fly perfectly in my focal plane. Other than that, I miss them every single time. They always fly towards me or away, and I never track it. So just complete. When he took off, I actually locked my focus and just shot, hoping he was going to stay in that focal plane. I didn't even try and track anything because I knew I would have missed it. Yeah. Fun warblers down in Florida, which was cool because it's neat to photograph them down there and then come back up to Jersey and photograph them again. So that's kind of a really neat thing to me. Got to see some barred owlets down there, which is really cool. Yeah. It was my first time seeing them. So that was really nice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen barred owls, but never owlets.
Not the babies.
Like that.
Oh.
So yeah, so that was the first time seeing them.
Love the
hanging out with
flowers there.
some limpkin, yeah. The burrowing owls, shooting these all in the same town that Emily was in.
And those eyes are crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a
Super
certain
cool,
portion of them that
speckled-eyed.
have these speckled kind of dark eyes, and there's not a lot of them. But yeah, I was out driving around scouting the day I got there, and I hit a burrow I was at last year, just confirmed the birds were there, and they were, and I was like, okay, this is probably where I'll shoot because it was a really good burrow. The birds were real tolerant, and I like finding them. This town, listen, there's hundreds of these birds in this town, like. People ask me all the time, "Oh, where do you find the owls?" I'm like, "Just open your eyes,
Everywhere.
just drive around.
Everywhere.
They are literally everywhere." And so I try to put in some time. I come in a day or two before my workshops, and I just start going to the outskirts of town because I like finding burrows that are a little bit more remote, not a lot of people around. You can just get a little bit more natural surroundings, that kind of thing. And so that's what I was doing on this day. And I drove up to this burrow because I'm just like looking on the satellite view, like where's open pockets that aren't developed in this town. And I just drive to them and just start wandering around, see what I find. And so I came upon this burrow, and I saw this owl come out, and I'm like, oh, damn, she's got the eyes, like just beautiful eyes. And it was a male-female pair. He had just the regular yellow eyes. So I was like, oh, I'm on these birds. And so I shot them for the next 3 days when I had the client come in.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was really cool.
Really reminds me of Mina bird eyes. They've got some
yeah.
starry-eyed, they're really cool.
Totally, yeah. They're a neat bird. I think they're often kind of overlooked because they're pretty common when they're wherever they're from, right?
Yeah, it's it's so funny. It's like there's always like your most common birds in different places, like grackles in some places are like everywhere, or minas. If you go to Maui, mina birds are everywhere.
Yeah.
And up here, they're magpie. And it's like when you don't have those birds and you go to that location, you're all like so happy to be shooting these common birds are like everywhere.
Yeah, and that's great that they're everywhere. So it's so easy,
Yeah.
All right, so this was one of the things I was really excited to start playing with warblers, and I haven't had as much time to do it as I wanted to, but I've really been wanting to play with wide-angle warblers, and I don't think I shared this on our last show. So, so this one was 24 millimeter. It's in this burnt forest that they recently did a controlled burn in there. So it was really cool to get like the charred branch and the charred pines around it and everything like that. I'm just, really happy playing around and trying to get these wide angle shots. And it is, 5 hours I worked that morning just to get one shot.
Patience.
So that was, yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Certainly reiterating
patience.
that,
Yeah.
Yeah. Patience and lots of frustration and cursing. Dude, I got the thing set up. Obviously it's a remote camera, so it's set up there, and I'm just like anticipating where this bird's going to go based on what I've watched, and, watching the behavior and all that. And then when you watch the bird like bouncing around behind the camera and then hitting the perch right next to it, and you're like, just go right there, like there, just go. And it just all around it. And then it just flies away. And you're like, oh, come on. And then I think I told you guys, this bird jumped on this perch once. I thought I hit the button and my remote didn't work, like my trigger didn't work. And I go over to look, I'm all excited, and I go over to look, and there's nothing on the back. I'm like, are you kidding me? And then I was thinking this is never going to happen again, and then thankfully it did, so I was able to get the shot. But
Ray, all I could picture when you were saying that is like someone walking on a trail not far behind. You're in this like little open area and you're cursing, and they're like, what is this guy doing? Like, this crazy nut.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they probably kept a wide space if they were around.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh man,
totally.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, here's another example of that same charred forest. Yeah, it's just, I think it's so neat because it really tells the story of, they burn these forests because it really helps rejuvenate the forest, which make them healthier, which is where these birds live. So it's a great connection to that kind of whole piece. And then this is the next thing I started trying to do, which was to play with. So I have never been a photographer that uses flash for bird photography. Do any of you guys, like, as far as just like fill flash or anything like that?
No. I've used it a couple times, but not very much.
Okay, yeah, it's just never felt like a good fit for how I like to shoot, basically. I don't have a problem with anybody else doing it. It's not like I think it's bad or worse or anything. and I know flash really well, right? Because I shot it, I learned it really well when I was a wedding photographer for a decade. It wasn't that I didn't know how to use flash. It's just never been a fit with my style. But this year I decided, it popped into my head, like one of the things I used to do, and this is so cool to me, about how some photography, like other genres of photography, can influence your bird photography, And so my portrait photography, this was something, every time it rained, this is what we would do. If it was a wedding and it was raining, we would backlight the couple in the rain. Like they'd go stand out with an umbrella and you'd backlight it with the flash and it would light up the rain and look all amazing. And I'm like, oh, like the light bulb just hit me one day. I'm like, that could be amazing with birds, like with these warblers, if I can get a bird in the right spot and backlight it with rain. So this was my first attempt, maybe a week and a half ago, something like that. Decent. I got a little bit of the glow there, a little bit of the rain, but not exactly what I was after. And
it's crazy that you're calling that decent. No,
yeah,
decent.
like okay.
Decent. Yeah, like crazy perch, perfect. Anyways.
Yeah, you'll see what I was after. That's
okay.
Yeah, so the difference between what I was after and what I got here is why this is decent. So I'll get to those at the end. So just some other warblers I've
make
been
you wait.
recently.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Recently found, but I went and spent some time at a double-crested cormorant colony where they're flying in and out with nesting material. And some of them are dragging like just massive amounts of stuff. So shooting this in the early morning sun has just been an absolute blast. I want to get back and get in the water with them. I think as long as the weather cooperates, I should be doing that this week. I have one of my mentorship students has built her own floating hide, and we've gone out together in the past. So she's bringing that down. We're going to try and go out in the water and hang out with these dudes. So that could be quite epic, hopefully.
Because even some tight portraits on that would be nice too.
Yeah, exactly.
Tighter in-flight shots
like
would be really nice.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep, totally. Yeah. And especially, I want to get that backlit flight shot, water level, with the shot like Emilie had with the running, right? I want to see the splashes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the vision in my head, and I want the wings like
really
swept
cool.
forward, right over top of the water, calm water. It's like
not much.
Next show,
I can picture
it.
Yeah.
He will share that with us.
Adding to my warbler breath series that I did some of last year. This was a new species. I hadn't gotten common yellowthroat. This one was real subtle, and I did. This was a shot where you could barely see it in the original, and I just kind of popped it a little bit in the final. But it's always neat to see the bird.
Okay, so what makes like good breath weather?
There's three conditions, right? So obviously it's got to be cold enough to see breath. You got to have sun. It's got to be a nice clear sunny day, so the overcast light isn't going to do it, and it's got to be dead still. Like, there cannot be any breeze, because our breath, we like humans, you exhale, even if there's a little breeze, you'll see it kind of drift away because we have a big volume of exhale. These birds, it's such a tiny little breath that comes out. If there's the slightest wind, it's gone like that. So
yeah. I just wonder if it's something to do with the humidity too, because like the off chance that I get to see it, it's obviously pretty warm here, even if it's winter. So I wonder if it's also something to do with like the level of humidity in the air.
I would assume it's going to show better in drier air. I would,
Yeah.
Plus it tends to be drier when it's colder.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or like a day where it was cold the night before and then it's warmer and I don't know.
Yeah, I think you have to have it cold enough to condense that warm air coming out of their breath. So it's a temperature thing.
Or I think, like maybe, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I feel like it's warmer here and like you can still see breath when it's warmer here for some reason. And I don't know
sometimes
why.
You can when it's warmer than you expect. You're right. Yep.
Right.
But,
I
don't
know.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on.
That's okay. Yeah.
Have you seen it with the right angle for it too?
Yes.
Yeah,
shooting pretty much directly into the sun. Yeah,
you got to be at slightly, backlit at some point. Like I had these swans this morning, and you could just see the steam rolling off of them, not only from their breath, but their neck and everything was just. And it was pretty cold and dry this morning, but
that's
still.
Cool. That's really cool. And I also noticed that if you can position yourself behind something, so in the forest, if you're behind a tree just off axis of the sun, so your lens is in shade, so you don't have lens flare, you'll get to see it a lot better. So lens flare will definitely, like, you can still see a decent amount of bird breath. Like if they exhale a lot, you'll still see it even if you have lens flare, but as soon as you kill that lens flare and get your lens in the shade, you can see it so much clearer, is also what I've noticed. So yeah, that's another tip on that. Continuing, just playing with more backlit stuff. This was an example of the bird was like out on this somewhat boring perch. It was just kind of like a stick, and I was shooting off to the left of this, and I took the shot, and I'm like, I realized it in that moment, like, this is kind of boring. And I started looking around and moving around because the bird stayed put. And then I was able to find these 2 trees to kind of shoot in between and hide most of the boring perch, and try to make something at least mildly visually interesting with that. Another example of shooting through some stuff. Just trying to play. I'm really trying to play a lot with foreground lately with these warblers, because I have so many shots where they're just clean, clear, open, perched, and they're great. But again, just trying to push myself with what I want to do lately, and that's to get just more of this crazy, unforeseen, whatever random stuff happens with foreground.
So how close? Oh, wow.
Yeah, this guy sang out nicely.
Yeah,
Wow.
he was singing.
Yes.
That is.
Singing his little heart out.
I love the little rings that are coming out.
Isn't that so cool?
It's like he's smoking hookah or something.
Yeah, those few little rings there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing when that happens. And I'm sitting there with the client. I took a client out, his first time photographing warblers ever. And this is what we shot.
Really?
And this is what he gets.
Yeah. So he's only going downhill from here.
Oh, yeah, it's
I
over
hope
now.
you warned him. They're like, this is not how it is. Okay.
How do you top it, right?
It's not
And
going to
I'm
ever be
telling
this easy.
Yeah, I'm telling him exactly that, Emily. I'm like, listen, it's not normally this amazing. This is not how it is. This was like the first bird we worked with that morning,
Wow.
And
Not
I'm
fair.
sure, like, if you put yourself in his shoes, it's probably like, oh, sure, you tell everybody that, you know what I mean?
Right.
No, it's really like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, you didn't get me warbler breath, Ray.
Yeah.
I did not.
My first time.
No, I did not. Another great example of that foreground play, I shot through all kinds of stuff on this one just to
I love all the color there. Just like so much color.
Yep.
It's almost like almost like berries in the foreground.
Yeah.
Background red maple, those seeds that are all red this time. In fact, they are these. These were in the background of this one. Okay. And then this is holly in the foreground. And then I was also shooting through a bunch of like vines and like thorns and stuff. So there was one little pocket that was clear kind of right in here. And the rest of it was all just making just all these weird patterns up here.
Yeah.
And like
kind of like a dreamy.
All of this stuff. Exactly. Yeah. And so to me, like that lately has held so much more visual interest to me than just like if this bird was just clean and clear up there without that texture and those random patterns. I just really like them. So
Ray, how close are your foreground elements when you usually try to play it? Like, you like to keep them within a foot, 2 feet, 10 feet?
So it depends on where they are in the frame. So if it's all the way out on the edge here, it can be pretty smack up close to the lens. But think about like those bokeh balls, right? They get bigger the further away they are, the closer to the lens, right? Well, at a certain point, if the foreground, like let's say you have an opening like this that you're shooting through, if it's really close to the lens is going to blur them so much that they start smearing over everything. It bleeds over the subject, and you can't get, even though you physically can look through a completely clear opening, they're so out of focus, it gets smeared over top of the lens or over top of the subject, basically. So you do have to really play with that distance, especially the closer it gets to the subject, then everything has to be a little bit further away so it doesn't kind of get blurred over top of the subject.
Gotcha.
So like this was definitely closer, but I threw it up in the top left, and I actually was physically positioning myself to keep that in the top left because I knew if I got too close, it was going to bleed out over top of my subject. So yeah. But it's anywhere, I would say, from probably like 5 feet at the closest to, maybe 10 feet out starts getting a little bit more defined foreground elements, Yeah. All right. So this was this morning. This was the ones. This is more what I was trying to do with the flash.
Crazy.
Yeah. And this little guy came in, this black and white warbler, and it was raining.
And could that perch be any better? Like
yeah,
really, eh?
Exactly. So he hit that one, and then I got the rain, but with it closer, you didn't get to see as much of the rain. So with this worm-eating warbler, backed up a little bit more, and got the flash was pretty much right behind him and just below the perch there. So this was the one that I really liked, and especially like the texture and everything in that perch was
so cool.
Was really cool. So this was my idea, right? It's like, if I'm going to use flash, I'm going to make it look flashed. I'm going to make it obvious that it was flashed, and just go totally unique with it. Use it for effect, right? Not for just fill light to make it look natural. Like, I'm trying to make it actually not look natural. And then here's the shot that I loved.
No. Cool.
Really cool.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So
like, what's the shutter speed there?
1/100th of a second.
Okay.
Yep. So this is the fun thing, and this is what I learned all with the portrait stuff. When you're doing flash, you can dial out ambient light if you dial out ambient light, your shutter speed doesn't matter at all. I could have shot this at 20th of a second if I wanted to, and that flash is what would actually freeze my subject.
Freeze him.
Yep. So I actually could, and this is something I just thought of now I could play with, right? I could actually move my lens at a slower shutter speed while I'm taking this photo, and maybe pick up a little ambient blur, and then the flash would freeze everything else as well. So I could actually maybe get some motion and a sharp thing. I used to do that at wedding receptions all the time. I would actually rotate my lens or spin my lens, like smear my lens, or pan it, I should say, and shoot it like 15th of a second, 30th of a second. And then the flash would fire at the end, and it would freeze like the people dancing. But meanwhile, all the lights in the background would just be like blurred and get like a sense of motion, but your subject was still totally sharp from the flash. So that's something cool you can start doing with flash stuff, and get really creative. But this is what I was looking for. And I wanted some of the rain that was in the foreground and in the background to be out of focus and more blurred. And so you can see how that, compared to this one, is definitely just more impressive. Like, this rain is just kind of like little specks, and this one's just like obvious and big and kind of starting to turn.
It almost looks like snow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got this wintry feel or something. That's cool.
So anyway, that's all my stuff there.
That perch almost looks like a skull.
Ooh,
like
perch, right?
On the jaw, on the lower mandible jawbone.
Yeah.
Like a jaw coming out. Like,
I wish, in hindsight, I wish I had the completion where it connected down there, so it wasn't two separate pieces. But then I would have lost more rain up top. So next time.
It's crazy cool.
I'm sure it will rain again.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. All right, so the question I have was from Ben Pinniger, and let's see. His question was, what is a better way for me to shoot ducks? I can't seem to get close enough without them running. As Emilie said earlier, patience. And as all of us duck photographers can tell you, tons of patience. I never, shouldn't say never, I almost never go out for ducks and go after them. It's always, I go to a spot where I know there's going to be ducks. I lay on that shoreline, or, sometimes lately I'm in the edge of the water, and then under camo, and just don't move for sometimes hours, right? So that's pretty much, that's pretty much the approach, because trying to sneak up on ducks is not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Yep.
And the thing is too, like, go to a location and see where the ducks like to hang out, and see if you are able to position yourself in an area prior to, so like half an hour or 45 minutes before sunrise, get in the cover of dark and lie down in that specific spot, and don't move even an inch. Like, we're not talking like, oh, okay, I'll just hold my camera like this, and when they come in, I'll move. No. If you do this, they're gone.
Yep. So that's duck photography, Ben.
Up here, it's so hard, man. In the summertime, it doesn't get dark. Like at night, it literally does not get dark at night. Like, it can be 1 o'clock in the morning and it's still light outside.
Wow. Yeah.
So there's no like going out in the dark and then waiting till it lights up. Like, you're screwed. So you just gotta find some place where you can kind of hopefully sneak into without them noticing too much, and then just lay quietly for a while.
Definitely.
Don't forget you're there.
Totally.
Yeah, that was my morning.
Yeah, exactly. But that's it, right? You just got to be patient. You just got to sit there and
Yeah.
be bored for a while, but
Yep.
then the birds will come.
Enjoy the sounds of the nature in the meantime.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Take
yeah.
a nap.
Yeah.
Yep. Scroll on Instagram, tag photos.
Oh yeah. Take selfies.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hey, Instagram Live. Hey.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the photo I chose.
Oh wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, from web goers, totally unique perspective. That's
Really
what jumped
cool,
out at
yeah.
me on this. Yeah, and then when I read it, totally makes sense. He was on a boardwalk, spotted the least bittern underneath of him, and shot straight down. And the grass framing,
Yep.
the way it angles, the same as the head of the bill there. Yeah, just such a cool, unique perspective. It just jumped right out at me. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, a very well done shot.
My favorite part of this image is that you can see the feet gripping.
Yeah, I was just gonna
split.
say you can see
The
his
split
little.
feet.
Yeah, and they're perfect. They're like perfectly placed on each
Yeah.
side of the bill. Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that head is angled almost any other way, right? It
Yep.
doesn't
Yeah, it
work
loses
as
symmetry.
well. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I wonder
it's-
actually
it's a
if
cool
this
shot.
was a shot that was taken, like multiple shots were taken, or if this was just like, oh, this is kind of cool. You know how sometimes you walk by
yeah.
a place or something, oh, this is kind of cool. And then like you realize, oh wow, it actually was like
You don't
really,
realize how amazing it was when you took it.
right.
Yeah,
And like
totally.
even thinking about like looking at it for a while and recognizing the feet, like if you were scrolling really quickly and just like, oh, this is kind of cool. But if you take the time to really look at it, you kind of see the more elements in it. So yeah, really
Yeah.
cool shot.
Yeah,
And
totally.
while that you can see the eyes too.
Yeah, the
right?
eyes,
Yeah.
the feet. It's like you can
Eyes.
see everything just from such a different
It's such
perspective.
a cool perspective. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
love when a background has a complement, like at the same color, like it mirrors it, like that little bit of blues or whatever
little-
that is
yep.
down the bottom.
Yep.
Kind of, I really like it. It's nice.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind
So
of funny. We
cool.
always talk about like getting eye level with the subject, and this is like
Yeah.
bird's eye view, and it's
Yeah.
it just works
Like
really well
right
here.
down.
Yeah, and to me, that's
Break
a great point,
rules.
Emily. That's the caveat to the perspective, right? It's once
Right.
you get good at photography and good at getting eye level perspective, then other perspectives can be used for creative effect. That's what I think
Right.
they need to be, though, right? They need to be
Definitely.
extreme sometimes and for a very specific reason. It's not just, oh, I'm shooting up at the bird because that's where it's flying right now. That's
Yeah, yeah,
not a creative use of an odd perspective. That's just settling for what's happening there. This is a creative use of an odd perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, really well done.
Excellent. Yeah. There was a couple more questions, comments, I think.
If somebody had a comment, I wanted to.
Go for it.
It was so funny. Patricia Constance, she said, "You don't know how loud your shutter is until you shoot with someone with a mirrorless."
So true.
Yeah, I bet.
So true. And I'm like, I'm the only one taking pictures.
That's
Why isn't he
hilarious.
taking
Yep.
pictures?
Yes. Yeah. Patty is one of my students and another person here, Susan, and they're really good friends. And we've all three shot together, and Susan and I have mirrorless now. And so Patty's the only one there with the, the
Patty, I
noise.
feel your
And we're always
pain.
busting her chops about it too. We're like, shh, you're scaring the birds.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an easy go-to blame. Yeah.
But
Thank
that's
you,
funny
Kyle.
though in mentioning it because like as things change, I can imagine like on safaris and stuff, right? Like a bunch of people with mirrorless and there's one dude there with the
One dude
camera,
just
like,
clanking away.
everyone's
And
looking at him.
hopefully,
Like,
yeah, that's the one.
Right? Totally. I mean,
Don't
there's a
be that
place.
dude.
There's a place here in Maryland that is just famous for bald eagles, right? In October, November. You can go there on a weekend, and at times, I'm not exaggerating, there's probably, I would guess, 300 to 500 photographers there lined up. And when
Crazy.
a bird flies, you can imagine that sound. It's
Yeah.
just insane, And then all of a sudden, that's going to be gone in like 5 years. It's just going to be
Yeah, it's gonna be
silent
quiet.
there.
Hey, we're
Except for
gonna be
that
hanging
one
on
dude.
to our shutters, right? Who's got it, Jamin?
Well, you can
You
still
and me.
turn the shutter sound
not a fan.
on the mirrorless, right?
Yeah.
Just not nearly as loud.
No, I'll just
No.
Emily will just be sitting back there going click 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 click, just making a sound with her mouth,
Yeah.
Oh man.
playing a recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one other question. Aiden Rose asked, "Hey Ray, I tried your out of focus silhouette technique, and it didn't work out how I thought it would. Any advice? Get closer. That's it. You got to get a lot closer than you think. That's what does the trick with that out of focus technique."
Are we talking about your the Dunlin one you have?
Yeah. Yep.
Above your
Yeah.
head
This
there.
image right back.
Yeah,
here,
it was
one of
the
those.
one.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just get closer. That pretty much does the trick. So.
Well, that's not so easy with shorebirds that run away from you really quick.
Nope.
I mean, it depends what
It
you're
is
working
not.
with.
It is
Yeah.
not. So yes,
Those guys.
that ends up being the absolute and utter challenge.
Challenge.
So,
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, definitely.
Something to look forward to.
Indeed.
So
Indeed.
keep practicing.
Yep.
Keep going.
What's anybody got anything coming up soon? Any plans?
Warblers, they're coming.
Yep. They
Yeah,
are.
just
I can tell
I'm
you
just
that.
waiting.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
waiting.
somebody spotted the first yellow rumps in town like
Nice.
a day or
Nice.
two ago. So we get
Cool.
the myrtle.
Yep.
oh nice.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
How about you, Emily?
I want to work on getting a good bunting shot, painted bunting.
Oh yeah. Yeah, this painting.
Yeah,
nice.
I've seen the male and the female in the backyard, so
Nice.
just gotta spend some time and be patient with them.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they're there every day, so
Okay, cool. Nice.
just gotta spend time with them.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do on an overcast day when the light's not good for the
Yeah.
waders and shorebirds. And
Yeah,
stuff, right?
yeah, and yeah, focusing on them too to see what's around, because I feel like we're getting to the peak of all the birds coming through. Kind of,
Yep.
I feel like maybe.
I think you're right. Yep.
So yeah, so gotta spend as much time as they're out there as possible. Get out of bed
Nice.
in the morning.
that is part of it. Yes.
It's part of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Waking
Yep,
up before the
definitely.
sun
The
comes
hard
up.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Cool. Well, I think we
You,
can probably
Ray?
wrap this up. Yeah. Yeah. What's up?
I said, what do you have on the
Work,
horizon?
which means
yeah.
warblers.
Work,
Warblers.
work, work,
Yeah.
work,
Pretty
work.
much every day. Yeah. I have, if I look at my calendar, workshop tomorrow, 2 the following day, full day the next day, 2 the following day, 1.
See, that's like
2 the
exhausting,
following
right?
day.
Like
Yeah.
anybody who
Um,
thinks that being a wildlife photographer full time would just be a blast. I mean,
It is a blast, but it's exhausting. You're right.
Yeah.
It's both.
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
to have that. Okay, I was telling these guys about Ray's passion for photography, and you can just hear it when he talks. And like, you have to have that level of just like pure, just commitment and passion to it.
Insanity?
Otherwise, I
Okay,
think,
yeah.
yeah, probably a little bit. Otherwise, you would just grow to resent it, I think. And you clearly don't. Like, you can
No.
just hear that you have that joy and just like drive for just, yeah. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
sure
love-
all of your clients can like attest to that too.
It's one of my favorite things this time of year to take people out, like that guy said that had never photographed warblers, and then have these birds right in front of him, and he's getting amazing shots, and then they just look over me and smile, and they're just like, they can't believe that they're photographing these birds. Like, that to me just makes it,
Yeah.
One of the commenters in here, Emma, I was just working with her today, and she was like, I recognize that perch that Protonotary is on because I took her to that same spot, and we worked with
Nice.
that bird today. It's just an amazing bird, and we got to photograph it again a second time today. Or I did, and that's the other thing, right? It's like, I just get to go out every day and just keep photographing these things. And, some people that have good outings, it's just another day of a good outing for me, it just adds up. And so, the portfolio of these birds for me ends up just being outstanding, just due to what we've mentioned a bunch of times, right? Get out and shoot, get out and
Patience,
shoot, get out and
time.
shoot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That repetition just means I have so many more. That's what it really does. It gives you more opportunities, because one day can be not so great, but the next day can be amazing, and if you're out there every day, you're going to hit more of those amazing days, versus if you just get out once a week, your odds are going to be slim. And I get that a lot of people obviously don't have the time or ability to get out as often as I do, or most of you guys do half the time. So I understand it's not possible for everybody, but when it is possible, get out there, just get out there and enjoy it. One last question just came in. How do you each carry or organize your gear? I carry mine on a monopod. I pretty much shoot exclusively on a monopod. Unless I'm shooting water level or ground level, then I use a ground pod. As far as organizing it, when I'm out, I don't. It's just kind of a camera that I take with me. I don't really have a lot of extra stuff. I don't really take a backpack or anything like that. How about any of you?
I carry mine. I don't use a monopod or a tripod or anything.
That's why he's got the big guns.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I just like the flexibility, just being able to grab it and go and not have to think or
There
not
is
have to
that.
fool around. My back is shot because of that, but
Worth it.
but yeah, I just like the flexibility of being able to just go.
Yep.
If I'm walking for a long time, I'll use a strap, or if I'm on the boat, which I had posted a video of me like taking photos from the boat without any strap, and they're like, "Are you stupid?" And I was like, "What do you mean? I got it,"
Yeah.
But yeah, so ever since somebody kind of told me that I should have a strap, so I use one if I'm on the boat or if I'm walking for a really long time. But when I'm out in the marsh or at the beach, I mean, it just gets in the way, and I get super frustrated with it. I'm just like, ugh. So yeah,
it just gets
most
wet
of the
and
time
messy,
I'm
right?
just holding, yeah. So most of the time, just the camera and the ground pod.
Cool.
Yeah, it depends on the situation for me. There's times when I'll grab the monopod and head out. If I know that I'm gonna be like in one place and need to kind of wait for the shot, then I'm gonna want a monopod to rest on. But this morning, I had my ground pod on the side of the lake.
Nice.
And then there's times when I just throw a strap on the 500 and hand hold it, or the thing gets heavy. It'll definitely weigh on your shoulders after a while. Walk a couple miles with a 500G on your shoulders, and you're swapping shoulders pretty often at that point. Like, oh my gosh, this thing is so heavy. But yeah, it just kind of depends on the situation. So
cool, excellent.
Before we wrap up, because I feel like Ray's getting there, getting to be like, we're closing the show.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Whatever.
Just something I wanted to kind of have a little conversation about. So this past week or whatever, I was in Florida, and I was really struggling with just like my energy level, like physical energy level. And I just wondered if anybody else ever struggles with that, and like kind of having to shoot because you're in this place, like you're traveled to go somewhere, and like you have to take advantage of the opportunities, but at the same time, like not resenting it, but like feeling like exhausted and just being like, ugh, but then of course you don't want to miss out on the opportunities. So like I was having such a hard time, and just with the energy, and obviously I was so glad every outing that I had, but it was a real struggle. Has anybody else been there?
Jamin did that to me in Alaska.
Yeah, like it's can be so physically demanding, and it's like
the last day I was there, I would, if Jamin woke up and if we woke up and he said, "You want to just stay in today?" I would have been like, "Yep." But he pushed me. I was not ready to go. I was ready to just chill.
Just like,
he's like, we're driving like, what was it, 2-3 hours to this spot. Amazing time. So glad we went. So thrilled.
Right.
So it was great to have somebody else to kind of
like push you,
push me at that point, because if it was up to me, I wouldn't have gone, and I would have missed some amazing shots. I really would have, So yes, I've totally experienced it, and like this time of the year, like I'm going to be pretty much workshopping and out in the field shooting every day until June, nonstop. So it's just, for me, it's really important to stop watching that extra show at night, just turn the TV on. I just have to go to sleep.
Get the sleep.
Really if I go to sleep early, and it sounds stupid at my age, right? If I'm going to bed at 8 o'clock, but that's fine because I'm getting up at, 4 a.m., 4:30 every day. As long as I get to sleep, I'm fine. I can do it.
Right.
I can do it every day. It's as soon as I start slacking and missing that rest, it just kicks you in the ass so quick.
Well, yeah, because like your body needs that time to like physically recover.
Can't do it. Yep.
Yeah. No. So yeah, that's a big part of it too.
I sleep in the wintertime. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's so hard here in the summertime because like, especially like the mid-April is when our ducks start coming back, and it starts getting lighter earlier and earlier. Like just in like 2 days, it's gone from 6, sun rising at like 6:11 a.m. to 6:05. Wow. So we're getting like 5 minutes a day of more light. And so, by June, it's going to, the sun's going down like 11:30 or so. And then it's coming back up by 3 a.m. Yeah. And the whole time it's like right under the horizon. So like for me, like because winters are just so hard, and I try to get all my photography in during the summer, so that way, I can go through the summer's stuff, through the winter, and have stuff to share when there's just nothing out, or it's too dark, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But in doing that, like, I wear myself out in the summertime, because I'll
I
be
can
up
imagine.
like getting sunset shots, at like 11:30 at night, get home
Bonkers.
about
That's
midnight,
nuts.
and then get up at 3 o'clock, to go chase the sun, this. And I can't do it every day. I can't.
No way.
But
No.
it's hard.
Yeah.
But on those days when I can't, I always feel like I missed out on something.
Right. Like, that's what I mean. I
but
feel
I'm
like
just-
there's this, it's
Well, and that's
kind
one.
of like this split thing in your head of like, oh, I should be out there shooting, but like, I need sleep and rest. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
You just, at some point, you got to listen to your body and just be like,
right.
you do need sleep. So,
But I mean, the
Yes.
thing is too, one thing that I always try to remind myself too, like when I'm there, the alarm just went off and I'm like, oh, should I stay? I'm like, well, I'm going to stay here and get up and look outside and go, shit, I should have been
wish I
out
was out
there.
there. Yeah.
And I've never
Yeah.
been out. I mean, you hear a lot of people say it all the time. Never been
Right.
out there and said, oh, I wish I was home in bed.
Yep.
I mean, unless you have a really crappy outing.
I've
But,
had one in, like,
you
Or a
know,
really
like,
comfy bed.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, push yourself for sure. You
Yeah.
won't
I've had
regret
plenty
it.
of times, when I went out and just didn't find anything. I was like, man, I wish I would have stayed home and, hung out with my kids and spent time with them.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
that's totally the flip
Yep.
side, right? Don't beat yourself up if you just
Right.
decide to, like, I need rest right now. That's okay.
Right.
Mhm.
You're allowed,
Yeah.
If you're not having fun with it at that point, like,
Right.
there's a balance of pushing yourself
There
to
is.
get out there and enjoy versus pushing yourself to the point of you're not enjoying it anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Right.
So just
And
accepting
I feel,
that, I
yeah.
think is important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like reminding yourself of the motivation of why you're doing it, or like, right. If you're to that point where it's become more of a negative thing than
Yep.
something that's positive, and like, yeah. But
Yeah.
it can be such a tricky balance sometimes,
It
and I
can.
feel like, obviously for you, Ray, it's like your job. So it's like you kind of
It's a
have
little
to be
different.
doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But, for a lot of people, it's kind of like, I feel like there can be multiple motivations behind shooting. And some of that can be social media pressure of trying to keep up with everybody else, or it
Mhm.
can be,
Yeah.
like just, I want to be out in nature, or it could be any number of things, or just like, I want my quiet time in nature, or watching the sunrise and all that kind of stuff. Or I want to
hate
get this shot
people.
that I've
Yeah.
envisioned.
I hate
Well,
people.
that too. All my friends are feathered.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a
Yeah,
great, it's a good topic, because I think
Yeah.
as you just realized, right, we've all experienced it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think
And
there's not a one answer, right? It's unique to every person and what
Right.
you're going through in that moment. And
Right.
I think just being okay with that is all right. That's an important part of it, to not beat yourself up either way.
Right.
But I can say I'm truly grateful that Jamin was there to push me that last day in Alaska last
Right.
year. Because
Definitely.
no joke, I know how I was feeling that morning. I would have been totally fine just chilling there and just going through and looking through the photos I had shot,
Right.
But we had an amazing outing. We did.
Yep.
We killed it that day, so
Be ready for more of that.
yeah,
Killed
I
it.
know.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Coming
And
up.
make sure you push me again, man. I'm happy to
Oh,
have that, that's I love shooting by myself. I love going out and being in nature by myself. That was, a fun thing that I got to do, this time of year. I'm most of the time working with other people. And as much as I love doing that and sharing that, it's just nice to be out by myself sometimes. But there's massive advantages of shooting with a good friend, and having that camaraderie, that helpful push, to keep you going, keep you motivated, shooting down there with you, Emilie, and just watching you work and just getting other ideas and concept. Like, that's a fun thing about being around other people. And I love shooting with people that I feel are better than me. And I don't just mean, not that I'm comparing myself to everybody, but just like, oh, they do this better. Like, they're really creative in this way. And I feel like that's a weak part of mine, or I don't see things that way. So getting that perspective from somebody else next to you is such a helpful learning thing. So kind of going out with people that like that you feel are better than you is such a great way to learn. It really is. and realizing that there's always something to learn, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So,
And it doesn't even necessarily mean that they're better either, in the sense that they could be just creatively different or see things different.
Right.
Right? Look at things different. I
Yep.
mean, we don't
Right.
all have the exact same shooting style. If we did, we'd all have the same images and it'd be boring. So, you know what I mean? We can learn from each other for sure. It doesn't mean you're better or worse.
yeah, that's
Right.
right. That's the better word, I think, maybe is go out with other photographers you respect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's so
Yeah.
true too. And like, if you think about photography, like as an art, I was at an art market this morning, not participating in it, just walking around and enjoying it. And I was just like thinking of how art is like so personal to each person. I know that sounds stupid, but it's like, and people are going to do what they want to do, and either you connect with it or you don't. And it's like that artist, whatever they're doing, is going to keep doing what they love, what they show, like, you know, their passion. So it's like, to keep that in mind too with photography, of like, you can totally be inspired by other people and learn from other people, and then still continue to kind of just let your own perspective shine through whatever you're doing. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
definitely.
No, it definitely
Definitely.
does. So excellent. All right. Well, shall we wrap it up?
Oh my God, just 2 hours, guys.
Oh,
Exactly.
there we go. Nice. Yeah. We
Woohoo.
nailed it.
Quick end it.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, cool. Thank you everybody so much for joining us. We really appreciate you guys hanging in there with us. We're really enjoying this show. We talk about it a lot between shows, how much fun we're having with this. So we're definitely going to keep this thing going. Make sure you share your photos with the Wild Combos hashtag. If you have any questions for anybody that's watching this not live, head on over to wildconversationshow.com. You can drop a question in there, and we'll try our best to get to it next time, or at least on one of the upcoming shows. We'll eventually get to it. We won't forget about it. And we'll see you all next month sometime. We haven't picked out a date, but as soon as we do, we'll announce it, and it'll be on that website. All right?
Perfect.
Cool. All right,
Thanks, guys.
See you
Hey,
guys
thanks
all later.
everyone.
Good
See
seeing
ya.
you.
Yeah.
All right.
You too.
Bye.